All right, he's good to go, huh? Joining us right now as we try to, I don't know, make sense of what happened yesterday. Matt, all morning, the guys got me. They were playing songs by Snap of I Got the Power fame. They played Humping Around by Bobby Brown, Too Legit to Quit by MC Hammer. Mr. Big song, I think, was in there. I couldn't get it until finally one of our callers helped me out. It's all songs that were hits in 1992 when Steve Young and Amp Lee led the 49ers to a victory in the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. And here we are. That stat's coming out in another 2, 3, 4 years, of course. How are you, Matt?
I'm good. Yeah, you and I weren't even alive in 1992. That's like ancient history.
The 90s. The 90s. I would go back to the 90s, but that didn't happen. So, Matt, let me ask you this. And again, it's great having you on from The Athletic because you are a true journalist with a capital J, not a fan. You call it as you see it. Do you believe in any way, shape, or form, not in jinxes, but do you believe a team can just have another team's number?
Well, yeah. I think that the Vikings defensive coordinator has the 49ers number.
Yeah.
But it is odd that, he's only been there since last year. So this goes back into the Bill Clinton era. So this is a lot deeper than that. I mean, there were big chunks when the 49ers never went to Minnesota. So, I think that this is just coincidence. But Brian Flores' defense seemed to have a lot of answers for Kyle Shanahan's offense, and it has in every meeting in recent memory. Remember, Flores was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins when they came in during the 2020 season. That was a bad year for the 49ers, but they put a shellacking on the 49ers in that game that really is rare since 2019. Since 2019, the 49ers have been really good. Nobody just kind of pushes them around unless Brock Purdy elbow snaps and they have no quarterbacks left. But that Dolphins game always will stand out to me because the 49ers were just obliterated in that game.
Matt Barrows joining us from The Athletic, of course, brought to you by Stockton Honda. So, Matt, I know after the game, Brock Purdy kind of said into Flores' ear, like, man, your schemes are crazy. So if we're kind of putting the scale on the bigger factor, the scheme of Flores and the Vikings or the absence of McCaffrey, where would you weigh it as to the bigger of the issues for the Niners?
I mean, it's all part of the same theme here. McCaffrey was on the team, was on the field last year when they went to Minnesota. So was Ayuk, and they only scored 17 points in that game. And I think that game they were missing Debo and they were missing Trent Williams. So there were some missing pieces, but to me, it was very similar games. I mean, just not a lot of easy throws for Brock Purdy. I'm going through each of his 6 sacks, a lot of sacks. The most he had been sacked in a game prior to that, I'm talking 28 starts, is 4. And the bulk of these are coverage sacks. There's one where Trent Williams gets beat, but that's the exception. The other ones are the Vikings are just bringing more pass rushers than the 49ers do have blockers. And Brock Purdy has no easy throw to make. Usually there's a hot read and you get through to the ball quickly. You can catch the team in a blitz. The Vikings had answers for all those. It's just better coaching. The 49ers got out-coached. There were no answers to some of these blitzes that the Vikings brought.
Matt, Brandon Ayuk through 2 games has been, well, not even as good as Juwan. And that's no disrespect to Juwan. It's just Brandon Ayuk should have more stats than he does. And I'm wondering for you, because, of course, I'm going to jump to he hasn't been great in the first 2 games, at least nowhere near his standards. Obviously, it's the holdout. Is there something else you see going on there, too?
No, I mean, if you would have told me, how many yards do you think Brandon Ayuk gets in week 1 and week 2, I would have said, maybe, 35, 45 yards. Because that's the nature of that position. You need a good run up to the season in order to start the season hot. He did not get that by any stretch. I mean, it's stark contrast to last year where he was sensational. Spring, summer, first game against the Steelers, 8 targets, 8 catches, 129 yards, 2 TDs. This is the polar opposite, and this is what everybody was expecting. The question is, when does he heat up? And my thought was, a month in, this Patriots game that's coming up at Levi Stadium, not this coming week, but the week after would be the one where I'd say, okay, if he's not sort of back to looking like himself, then we've got a problem. But you're right. I mean, the contrast was stark. Two very well-paid wide receivers in this game, Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk. One guy had 133 yards at halftime and a big touchdown. The other guy had 2 yards at halftime. It was not part of the game. I wrote in my story that at one point, Kevin Harlan, the play-by-play guy, Brandon Ayuk catches a pass late in the third quarter, and Harlan says something like, "Brandon Ayuk gets his first catch of the game." Well, he had gotten one early in the game, but you can't blame him for forgetting about it. It was such a inconsequential play, and it had been so long between catches. It seemed like that was his first game. My point being, he disappeared for big chunks of this game, and you don't want that from your $30 million a year wide receiver.
You cover the team far closer than we do. You're there every day. Do you have any knowledge, or is there any chance that John Lynch kept his receipt, or is there a 30-day warranty?
No, but I mean, we go back to that whole back and forth on the day that Ayuk signed, where the 49ers were putting it out there. Well, we had this deal in place since August 12th. This is exactly the same deal that we put forth a few weeks ago. And that starts to matter now, because if it is the same deal and he could have signed on August 12th, he wouldn't be this far behind the curve in mid-September.
Matt, as far as we talked about scheme already, but how about the big plays? There, of course, was the deep one, the 97 1-yard to the 97-yard TD to Jefferson. But we can go to special teams, the block punt. I think there were a couple other offensive plays, 25 yards plus, combined with the mistakes the Niners made. What do they attribute that to? Because, again, I thought they looked so sharp Monday night. They didn't look like the same team yesterday in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings were way better on third downs than the 49ers, and that's basically the key to this game. And, Charvarius Ward, for example, is usually really good at run defending, and he wasn't in this game. He let at least 2 plays out to the side that could have been hemmed in. And, Sam Darnold had at least 2, third down plays where no one's open, and just huge lanes for him to roam the field. That's been a constant issue for the 49ers. So aggressive on their defensive line that they basically run past the quarterback, and he's got swaths of green grass to run. So, I mean, it was something different on every play, but you're right. There were lapses there that we weren't seeing against the Jets. I mean, this team has been good on the road. It's been good on 10 a.m. starts. This was a 10 a.m. start following a short week early in the season. I mean, there was some grogginess early in that game. Mitch Wishnowsky just kind of looking down at the guy who scooped up the fumble and not realizing, oh, wait, it's my job to actually just, put a finger on him and he's down. Just sort of like brain freeze, things like that seem to be happening early in this game.
So, Matt, and again, I'm going to ask you a non-journalist question. How much of this is the Vikings really exposed X, Y, and Z? The Niners have real problems and they better figure it out type of thinking. Is there any of this, as I'm trying to cope here, just the Niners have that perennial contender-itis where they begin to get bored with the regular season? Maybe they're not focused. They do this every year. They did it last year. Obviously, injuries were a factor. How much of this is legit there's problems, and how much of it is just they may be hyper-focused on the Super Bowl and it bit them in the pants?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more matchup-oriented. I mean, I think that if there's a kind of looming concern about the 49ers, it's that the Chiefs, for example, played a certain style of defense that the 49ers just really had trouble with. And the Vikings played a certain style of defense that the 49ers had trouble with. And that sets a blueprint for combating Brock Purdy and this offense. The rejoinder to that is that not everybody can play that. I mean, if they did, they would. The 49ers went through 3 games last year where they scored 17 points, and it seemed like defenses had their number. Remember, we were talking about the Browns defense. Okay, this is the type of defense that really thwarts the 49ers. And it's true, it did. But then the 49ers got back on track, and, they annihilated some teams after that. The Eagles, the Jaguars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So my point being, not every team is going to play them like the Vikings did because they just can't. That's just not. They don't have the personnel. That's not their nature. They don't have the defensive coordinator. So I mean, to me, it's a blip, in that they'll get right, and the team that they usually get right with happens to be the very next one on their schedule. So that could be history repeating itself.
How about what became official this weekend? McCaffrey put on the injury list, so he's going to miss at a minimum 4. What do you know about that? What do you think they feel his return might be?
I mean, I think they think it'll be the normal 4 games. They hope that. This is an injury, the Achilles tendonitis, that goes away with rest. And the feedback I get is that McCaffrey isn't a great rester. He's not, Dave, for example, would be great with his injury. Just
100%.
Just sit up on the sofa for a month, Dave.
New video games out. I want to play it.
You start binge watching your Netflix.
That's right.
That's hard for Christian McCaffrey to do, and he's been pushing it because it does feel better some days. And so he gets out there, he practices, he thinks that he's about to kick it, and it comes roaring back. This is going to force him to get rest. Shanahan even said, kind of keeps McCaffrey from himself. So that idea that he's going to be forced to stay off of that calf, that foot, and have it go away. So the question is how quickly that can happen. Does he come back for that Thursday night game, short week on an artificial field in Seattle? I'm not sure. It might be the week after that. That would give him a little bit more time, and then a nice kind of softer cushion with a grass field after that.
No rest for Matt Barrows, though. He's off to L.A. next weekend, Sunday, 1:25, Niners-Rams. And we will, of course, talk to him as we do every Monday at 9 a.m. Matt Barrows of The Athletic joins us each and every week. All right, Matt, here's to a win next week, and thank you for your time, my friend.
Anytime, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care. That is Matt Barrows, brought to you by Stockton Honda.